This is Spare Time Repair, and this is a Philips Magnavox 5 CD changer. It's the model CDC 735, and I've been on the lookout recently for a single CD player in all the various thrift shops around here, and all I can find are these CD changers. I must have found 7 or 8 of these, and it's really confused me because I don't know whether they were just more popular here in the USA or whether it's just that nobody wants them and that's why they're ending up in the thrift stores. I suspect the latter because in 2025 I can't see any reason to own a 5 CD changer. These were maybe good if you were throwing parties and you just wanted a non-stop playlist, but that's no longer an issue, and I think the disadvantages far outweigh the advantages when it comes to listening to music. The only reason I picked up this one was because I was looking for projects and it was only $5.75, and I thought it might be at least interesting to take a look inside and see how it worked. I tested it in the store and it looked like it worked. So if we turn it on, it cycles through various trays and decides there's no disc in there. Very slowly ejects. So if we put a disc in slot 1, well, the disc 1 is circled on the display, but it says disc 3, so okay, so we select disc 1, then it just makes a groaning noise, and we get this EE error. And then all the other buttons are unresponsive. I can't even eject it. Then if I cycle the power, it will do exactly the same thing again. I'd say this thing is incredibly light. You would expect it to be quite heavy for a CD changer, but there's giant hollow spaces underneath. Even the back panel is plastic. No danger of any digital outputs. And this was manufactured in September 2000. So I'm not planning to use this. It's just an exercise in curiosity, really. So it looks like everything of interest is hidden underneath the carousel tray. But let's plug it in again and see what it's doing with the lid off. So just powering it up. Okay, so it's not even spinning the disc up. So I'm just going to eject, if it'll let me. I think it's because the disc is in there. I'm going to remove that. And it still doesn't reveal much. So I think I'm going to have to strip this down quite a lot just to get inside it. Actually, it feels like the tray is misaligned. I don't know whether that was me, but it's sort of pushed in more on the right side than the left. But then that might just be its poor build quality. All right, I'm going to unplug it and start removing some screws. Actually, very few screws holding this together. So there's a little clip on the side here. A couple more clips on the bottom. Wow, this thing is so cheap. Yeah, that came off really easily. So all we've got on this front panel is this connection to the eject and the disc select buttons. And this metal bar is here purely for a bit of rigidity. I'm just going to unscrew this very small board. I might need to remove the bar actually. So again, this is just held in place by a couple of flimsy clips. So now I can remove this board, hopefully. And that is all that's going on there. So can we now remove the tray? Feels like it's clamped at the back, so I'm going to plug it in again. I'm going to unplug it with the tray in the open position. It looks like I've got to remove these 4 screws. Okay, that was easy enough. I haven't got enough slack on the cables to turn it over, so I'm going to, well, I might be able to free it up by unwinding this. So I'd imagine this is the loading belt, which doesn't feel too bad. No, actually this is the carousel belt, and this is the loading belt. This one does feel a little bit flimsy. That's probably why it's so slow. In here we've got a leaf switch which detects when the tray is in and out via this cam on this gear. So that appears to be working okay. So why is the disc not spinning up? So presumably there's some sort of photodiode that shines up through here and can tell when a disc is loaded or not. And then when it plays, this whole mechanism swings down and should clamp the disc. I can't actually move it though. At the moment it's blocked by this cam. It has to be in a certain position in order for it to drop. But is it not dropping? Is that the problem? Right, so if I shine a light in through the front, you should be able to see here, this mechanism should come up when the disc is in place. So let's see what it's doing. Well, I think I messed something up because now it's in the open position and we've got the EE error message. So I'll just cycle the power again. So it's spotted there's a disc in slot 4. So if I skip to that. Okay, the mechanism does lift up. So if I press play. Oh, now it is spinning. This feels like the other CD changer that I looked at recently, where maybe it all got out of sequence and maybe the cam was in the wrong place and now it's okay. The display is not giving me anything but the disc number and track number. It doesn't actually give me a time code. There is what looks like an infrared sensor here, so maybe there was a remote for this. And that's perhaps the only way to access the minutes and seconds. Well, I guess we should hook it up and see if we've got any output. There's no headphone jack on this, so I have to hook it up to the amp. Well, it's certainly working. I've got no idea why it wasn't working before. So I'm going to find some other discs and fill up all of the trays and see how it copes with that. Okay, disc 1. Just feels like there's so much that could go wrong with it. So the display is functioning correctly. It's showing the little circle around the numbers shows that there is a disc in each compartment. So if I remove disc number 5 and then try and go to it, yeah, it recognizes that's been removed, and you probably can't see that because it's so bright in here, but the circle that was around disc 5 is now gone. Well, that wasn't a very satisfying fix, if indeed it is fixed, but I think it shows how delicate and temperamental these disc changes can be, and probably another reason why people donate them to thrift stores. It's annoying to me that the display doesn't show the time of the track by default. I suppose you could get a universal remote and program it to this code and maybe try and change the display, but I'm certainly not going to bother with this. It is interesting that the whole transport comes out when you eject it, and I have seen other players where the transport is sort of fixed at the back and then it will clamp the disc, spin it up and then release it into the carousel. But the whole thing's integrated here, which gives the tray quite a lot of weight and may explain why it's so slow to eject. But now the tray's in the open position, I should be able to use the disc skip button here to move the carousel around. Will that work? Well, yeah, I can't find anything else wrong with this. Well, I suggested that this was the switch that detected whether the tray was open or closed. I think it's actually more likely to be this, with a switch here, and there's another leaf switch under here. Let's trigger this, see what it does. Well, it's not doing anything because I've got the EE error on the display again, presumably because I've got it out of sequence. So I can't even really demonstrate how it works because this whole thing needs to be in place for it to do anything. But I note when the tray is closed like this, you can't skip through, well, because there's only one disc in there, it won't let me try and skip through them. So it's obviously recognized that there's no point in doing that. But if there is only one disc in there, it doesn't automatically offer it when you eject. You still have to manually move it round to the front, which is yet another annoyance. One thing of potential interest, this may be the photodiode that senses whether the CD is in the tray or not. So I'm just going to remove that board. I think I'm right in calling it a photodiode. Okay, so this looks like an interrupt sensor that goes in this slot here. It counts the interruptions so it knows which position it's in. And this looks like the infrared LED. This perhaps reflects off a disc when it's in place and is picked up by this sensor. And it would do that by shining through these holes in the tray. So if I move that out of the way and we turn the carousel manually, we get this slot here where the light is picked up. Yeah, so it wasn't these two holes, I thought it's actually this slot here. So it is all quite clever, it's just not very exciting. So perhaps there is an index marker on one of these positions that tells it which slot is disc 1. There must be. So we're all back together and I've given it a cursory clean because I think it deserved at least that much. But this was never more than a curiosity for me, and my search for a single disc CD player will continue. But it appears that it did originally come with a remote. This is the best picture I could find of it, and it appears that it did have display controls and program functions and direct track access, as you would expect. But I've got no further interest in this. I'll probably donate it back to the shop that I bought it from originally and continue my search. But anyway, I hope that was of some interest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.